Item 3, revision and approval of regular and consent agenda. Any changes?
The regular and consent agendas.
So, made a motion to approve the regular and consent agendas. Dave seconded. All those in favor? Item 5, recognitions and information. Students of the month, Central Elementary. Mr. Gowan.
Yes, our student of the month is Brantley Freeman. He's not here tonight because he's got baseball practice, but Mrs. Freeman is his teacher, and she states that he is an exceptional kindergartner. He's a great friend to others. He looks for ways to help his classmates out and brings joy to others. He celebrates his peers and their accomplishments. Brantley is a bright boy who works hard in class. He puts forth his best effort and is always up for challenges. His ability to be responsible has earned him various opportunities to show leadership skills within our classroom too, and he is a joy to have in class. That's Brantley Freeman, kindergarten.
Fillmore Elementary.
Right on time, Nick. This is Nick Pierce. He is in 5th grade, Mrs. McCammy's class at Fillmore Elementary. And she writes, Dr. Smith and members of the South Putnam School Board, it is her pleasure to introduce you to Dominique Pierce, a 5th grader at Fillmore Elementary. He is an April Fillmore Student of the Month. Nick is the son of Nathan and Rachel Walters. He has a sister, Josie, who's in 2nd grade at Fillmore, and a younger brother, Bo, who will be a kindergartner next year at Fillmore. Nick embodies our school's values of being engaged, respectful, and sincere in his attitude towards his learning, school responsibilities, and his relationships with peers and teachers. Nick enjoys learning new things, especially history. He tries hard to apply what he already knows to new ideas. He takes time to really think about what he is learning and ask questions when he needs help. Nick sticks with the work until he is satisfied. He has varied interests outside of school. He loves raising pigs and riding his goat. I want to see that sometime. He loves playing around with his dogs. He's often playing outside and enjoying nature. He loves to hunt and fish with his family. And I have seen pictures of the deer that he has hunted down. Nick got his first deer this past fall and just returned from catching sharks in Alabama. Nick loves to run cross country and track. This comes naturally since his mom was a junior Olympian. He is an enthusiastic learner and often shares what he enjoys with classmates and Mrs. McCamick. Since he is organized and careful about his work, Nick produces detailed, completed assignments. Nick's personality adds brightness to our school days. He has a good sense of humor and a playfulness that are fun to see. He is a loyal friend and treats his peers and teachers with respect and kindness. He is a trustworthy and sincere individual who is well liked by all. For these reasons, I believe Nick deserves the honor for his actions, attitudes, and his accomplishments. Nick is an awesome person, a fantastic student, and a strong role model for all of us at Fillmore Elementary School. That's from Jill McCamick, 5th grade teacher.
Amen. For you, what's the best thing about being at South Putnam Eagle?
I don't know.
Well, if you think of something, let me know. Thank you. Our middle school student of the month, Mrs. Gardner.
So Victoria, come on up, Victoria. One of the things I know about Victoria Page is that she is a swimmer. She's been very successful in our swim program, and not only as an athlete, but also as an encourager to other athletes in the pool. If you've got to see Victoria swim, it's exciting, and see the smile on her face when other teammates are doing well. And Victoria's excited about doing that in the future, too. It's something that she has a passion for. So Victoria was nominated by Mrs. Bai, and I'm going to read what she wrote. Victoria Page is one of the hardest working students I know. She stays in my homeroom almost every day to get help on her algebra, even though she really doesn't need much help from me. She is bright and social. She loves horses and swimming, and I enjoy getting to hear her stories about her writing lessons and how they went and how she did at a swim meet. Victoria is an all-around sweet girl, and I am so lucky to teach her this year. So congratulations, Victoria.
and high
Alright.
school.
And Harley Dickerson. How Harley can you? Something I know about Harley is that she is an artist. Harley is also into creative writing, and she's a participant in our new creative writing club. So that's a passion of hers and something that she's very good at. And Harley was nominated by Mrs. Henry. This kid is just great to have in my classroom and brings great effort to all of her work. She has conquered a very tough curriculum in AP World and has become a leader in that classroom that is already full of very bright young people. While she is naturally quiet, I see her growing in her confidence as the year has gone on. I am certain she is one of the brightest and nicest young women I have been blessed to teach. So congratulations, Harley.
Harley, same question for you.
The teachers are very helpful, and everybody's very nice.
All right, and because it's a school night, at this time, we usually dismiss any students and parents who would like to take off. But you're welcome to stay. You're welcome. Yeah, just stay.
Stay safe, okay?
Thank you folks for letting us come and crash your party.
Okay, item 5B, financial update. Dr. Smith?
Yeah, in your board package, you have several reports. As reflected in those reports, our cash flows and funds and our debt structures remain strong, which allows us to continue to do some really cool things around here at South Putnam. So, just you know, review those and check those out. I'm sure. Any questions you have?
Legislative update, Joe?
Okay, so a lot going on right now because it's kind of deadline for the House and Senate. Basically, we're kind of between those deadlines. The House bills must have been through the second chamber by Tuesday, April 11th, which was yesterday, and Senate bills are due tomorrow. So there's a lot of things in flux at the moment. Some of the third readings and such don't happen until April 17th and April 18th. So we still don't know where some of these bills are going. But the committee process follows the third reading of the House and Senate, and there'll be a conference, and then we'll really understand what bills are probably going to pass and be there's some compromise language that has to occur, and then you'll get the final version of the bill. So as of now, we're still looking at House Bill 1167, which is live streaming and archiving meetings. That would probably impact our board quite a bit, as it would most boards, because what that requires, which we're already doing some of this, it provides a live feed to public meetings, archives the live feed, which we still have, I think, on YouTube, and we'd be required to have links to any meeting agendas, minutes, or memoranda, which would be a little extra work. And those archives could be destroyed after 90 days. So again, that's in the works still. Education Matters is another bill. It's Senate Bill 486. That repeals certain teacher training requirements. And I've talked about some of this last time, but I got a little more in depth on some of these. It removes certain requirements regarding annual performance evaluation plans for certificated employees. It amends requirements to be considered a probationary teacher and professional teacher, changes some of that language. It urges the effort to reduce and streamline assessments for Indiana students. It also removes requirement for a public meeting and testimony before privately negotiating certain collective bargaining matters. So could be some changes on the horizon here. The next one that is kind of a big one is charter schools. It seems to be, some people are calling it a pro-charter, anti-public school bill. That's just what some people call it. You can take it for what it is. It regulates whether a school building meets criteria for closure or should be made available for sale or lease to a charter school. It also establishes standards concerning the closure of underutilized public schools. We've mentioned that in the previous conversation. And if that school building had ever been used at any time for classroom instruction, it requires school corporations to annually report certain information to the DOE regarding school buildings. It provides procedures for notifying charter schools or state educational institutions of the availability of school buildings that might be available to them. It provides the DOE or selected charter school may request the AG to commence legal action to enforce final orders for sale of the school. So it really kind of gets into a lot of school buildings, provisions for helping charter schools get established or find a place. It also enables charter schools to receive certain money and above and beyond what they're already entitled to. It amends definition of school building construction programs and provides the maximum length of charter is 15 years. Current law is 7 years. So again, that's one of those that's kind of out there in limbo at this time. The other one is material harmful to minors, what they call the book banning bill. This is Senate Bill 12. It establishes a procedure to submit a complaint that a book in the school library is inappropriate and makes schools ineligible for defense to criminal prosecutions alleging the availability of materials or that could be harmful to minors, but it adds universities to that list. So kind of takes universities, gives them a little more freedom, and gives public schools a little less freedom than what we allow children to see. And sometimes it's going to be up to debate, what is appropriate, what is not, and what is harmful, what is not. So those are some considerations, some things to watch out for as we go forward.
So is that one out of did it move out of committee?
It's referred to House Education currently. That was a 3-6.
And so it's not the House?
Yeah, it's referred to House currently. Any questions?
Thank you, Joe. Item 6, public comment. We have one speaker for our public comment section. We ask that you stand and when I read your name, and yeah, you have 3 minutes. So Christina Page.
Good evening. It's possible that what I wanted to bring up was redundant. It had to do with field trips for the class of 27. I know there's something in section 7, item E. So I just noticed when I was reading the notes that come out from the middle school, high school administrative office that the class of 2027 missed out on the 6th grade Chicago field trip, and they missed out on, I don't know which grade's Washington, D.C. field trip. So I was going to inquire if the board would consider allowing the class of 2027 some interesting and fun, cool field trip, since they kind of got shafted in the field trip department. They will be 9th graders next year, just for reference.
Because they were the COVID year, right?
Yeah, they were all the COVID years. And high. Personal investment. That's all I have, is just if the board would in the future consider giving them something kind of cool.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. All right, we can go, baby.
Agenda item 7, new business. The first one, A, is consideration for approval of surplus equipment.
Yeah, so we come to the board from time to time to approve surplus equipment that's no longer needed or that's reached its end of life here at South Putnam. Tonight, we seek approval to surplus the items that are listed in your board packets.
Any discussion?
Curious what they do with the items.
They're surplus, so generally they can be destroyed or they're set out and sometimes people take them. But they're generally, they're basically generally just disposed of.
But we have to go through this process in order to cross them off the inventory, right?
I move to approve the surplus equipment.
I'll second.
Wade made a motion to approve the surplus equipment, and Joe seconded. All those in favor? Thank you. All right. 7B, consideration for approval of out-of-state professional development request.
Also in your board package, you have the detailed information for an out-of-state professional development request for Chuck Sorrell to attend the Hammer Strength Weightlifting Conference in Ohio. Since it's out of state, we need to have board approval for that. so that he can, in this, conference, he's gonna receive some of the latest training to make sure that he continues to work with our students correctly and safely.
Any questions?
I move to approve, the out-of-state professional development request.
So, Joe made the motion to approve the out-of-state professional development request, and Lee seconded. All those in favor? Motion carries. 7C, correct, consideration of school resource officer MOU.
As you're aware, we've been working on this for quite a while, so we're finally getting to fruition on this. We've been working with the town of Cloverdale and Cloverdale Community Schools to create a shared resource officer. And in that is a memorandum of understanding to accomplish that. The document in your board packet has been through multiple vetting stages. It's been reviewed by the building principals, both school corporations, the town of Cloverdale, and several attorneys, which is why it's taken this long to go through all of that process. Always got to put the attorneys in there. Therefore, tonight we're seeking approval, board's approval for this collectively developed SRO MOU.
Do you have a question? Is that MOU, my understanding is it could still change, it's just,
It's pretty much in its final format, but yeah, there could be slight tweaks, but if there are tweaks to it, I will bring it back to you. But as of right now, that's the collective agreement, that we've all, through all of those processes have arrived at.
And has Cloverdale, has this been brought to their board yet?
I do not know, I haven't checked with them on that, I just know it was sent to us as the final version, so.
All the principals were involved in the discussion of what was.
Yes, over several months.
Any other questions or discussion?
I move to approve the school resource officer MOU.
second.
We made a motion to approve the school resource officer MOU. Wade seconded. All those in favor? Thank you. Item 7D, consideration of 2023-24 elementary handbook.
We're seeking approval for this 23-24 elementary handbook. I'm gonna let the experts speak to that. Mrs. Steffi's here to provide a brief overview of those updates.
I don't know about expert, but we've kind of, between Mr. Gowan and I, we've tweaked our handbook just a little bit, but the major portion is the attendance portion. We have kind of run into some issues. Our handbook was not necessarily in alignment with the middle school, high school, or you could say theirs wasn't in alignment with ours, however you want to put it. So as we looked at that and had discussions with them, we made changes to ours to be more in alignment with what theirs are, or is. Ours, we just had excused days, and then anything after that was unexcused, and so there's a little more to it now, as far as number of days and things like that. So when you look at both, they're very similar. In fact, it could be almost exactly alike.
Any questions for Mrs. Steffi or discussion?
I move to approve the 2023-2024 elementary handbook.
Joe made a motion to approve the 2023 elementary handbook. Lee seconded. All those in favor? Motion carries. Item 7E, consideration of overnight out-of-state trip request.
Yep, in your board packets are two out-of-state and overnight trip requests. One is for the varsity and JV Lady Eagle basketball team to go to D1 camp at the University of St. Francis. This is kind of an annual thing, trip that they take, and we've got permission again last year as well. And the other is a chartered bus trip to the St. Louis area for our fifth graders.
What was the St. Louis area, what are they gonna be doing there?
Do you wanna speak to that? There you go.
We had tried to attempt to do something last year, but there was a situation with transportation and that kind of stuff, so it fell through. So this year, we got together again, and our intentions are to, first of all, with the charter bus, we're first going to stop at the Cahokia Mounds to tie into our social studies and the things that we do about the area and the natives and things like that. And we read all about that in social studies and stuff. So we're going to let them actually see what we talk about and that kind of thing. And then after that, then we'll go into St. Louis. We're also then going to go to the courthouse where the Dred Scott case was heard and seen, and look around there and discuss issues dealing with that, because that also ties in to some of the stuff that we're doing in our classes. And then the third spot of it will be, we'll go to the City Museum, that is the old shoe factory, and we're going to see how, and I've talked with my kids about how that places are revitalizing old districts in towns or cities to repurpose it and make it usable again, and how important that is to think about instead of just building new. See if there's a way to refurbish things. And then it's going to be some fun because all the slides and things are there and tied in. But my kids at Fillmore also have to then be able to come back and explain and tie in a little bit of science and force and motion. So yeah, my kiddos know that, like, any field trip that might be fun, that's something they have to do with it as well. I don't like, there's some sort of work that has to be tied in. But they're excited, and they've been looking forward to it. So thank you for approving it.
Yeah.
Yes, well, I'm sorry, we also planned to stop there though and let them get a picture.
Yeah,
because like some of them will not maybe get that opportunity or whatever. So we do plan not to like go up in it or whatever, but at least make a quick get off the bus, let's get a picture for you guys or whatever, spend a couple minutes and let them go do that too, yeah. If I could have swung a Cardinals game, I would have too, but I couldn't do that. Not unless it was overnight.
I move to approve the overnight and out-of-state trip request.
Second.
Joe made a motion to approve the overnight and out-of-state trip request, and Wade seconded. All those in favor? 7F. Project hearing and second preliminary determination hearing. So the next item, or this item on the agenda, is for the board to hold a project and preliminary hearing on the proposed project. If you are interested in speaking at the hearing, please make sure today, please make sure that you have signed the sign-in sheet. So I have 2 people on here right now. Is there anyone else who would like to speak? If so, after I finish these 2, or these 2 people finish speaking, just let me know and you can sign the sheet, but we have to have your name on the sheet. Okay, so after the presentation by the administration and our advisors, there will be an opportunity for you to speak. And so we ask that you make comments about the project, and we ask that you limit your comments to 3 minutes. And it be about the proposed project. The notice of this preliminary determination hearing was published as legally required. The first preliminary determination hearing was held on March 13th, 2023, which was our last regular board meeting. At this time, I will ask that the bond counsel explain the purpose of this hearing, and our bond counsel is Kristen McClellan.
Good evening, everyone. The purpose of this hearing is that under state law, anytime a school proposes to spend more than $1 million at one facility, you must hold a hearing. In addition, there's another law that says if you intend to spend over a certain threshold on a specific project, you must also hold a hearing. So that's our purpose tonight, is to hold both of those hearings. And it's the very beginning of the legal process, like we discussed in March.
Thank you. We'll now hear from Dr. Smith about the process of determining and communicating the project to the community and the need for the project.
Just a brief presentation over here for you. So, as we've talked about before over the last several months, this really is a once-in-a-generation opportunity for South Putnam. In this process, we did a facility study where we looked at our roofs. We looked at what roofs are under warranty, which are not under warranty. We looked at our HVAC systems, our air handling units. We looked at our boilers and our chillers. We looked at all of our infrastructure, looked at some aesthetic potential improvements, what renovations need to be made, and our current property utilization. So we took all of that into consideration as we undergone this initial process. We also had considerations for our budget and cash flow. So working with the board, we looked at those things. What can we afford to do, and do we have the cash flow to do so? We looked at our debt trends, which we'll get more information on in just a moment. We also, again, that facility study we looked at and discussed that in that review process. And then we looked at what our needs and our opportunities in this project, what we might be able to do for that once-in-a-generation opportunity here for South Putnam. In this process, we've had 3 public work sessions. We had one on January 23rd at Central Elementary, and January 26th we had one at Fillmore Elementary. And there, at those meetings, we specifically sought out public input and looking at needs and wants for our staff, students, and patrons that were there. Look at ideas for supporting our students. This is really what it's about, supporting our students in the educational opportunities, the programming that we do here, the activities that we have, and the experiences, the overall learning experiences that our students have here at South Putnam. And overlying all of this is we want to make sure that our students and our staff have a safe and healthy environment in order to learn in. And so that's the overriding theme of everything that we've discussed. We had our 3rd work session on February 22nd. We had presentations at that time from Stiefel, talking about our bond capacities, and we had a presentation from Ice Miller, basically looking at the bond timeline. On March 13th, we had our preliminary determination hearing, and we're now arrived at this point. And basically what all of that encompasses and all this process up to this point is what this project is at this point. And it's basically the renovation of and improvements to facilities throughout the school corporation. It includes site and athletic improvements and the purchase of equipment and technology to support those. To summarize everything here, this really is just an amazing opportunity for South Putnam and the community. It's a significant investment in our students and in the community. It's going to enhance our student learning experiences and the educational opportunities for our students. Now we're going to hear from Matt Shoemaker from Stiefel. Good.
I am Matt Shoemaker with Stiefel, as Dr. Smith had said. So we are a financial consultant for the school corporation. Our role in this process is to look at the potential projects that the school corporation is discussing, look at the amount, see how that might fit into the overall tax rate of the school corporation. Administration and school board has been very clear that the target for the total tax rate is $1.32. I'll walk you through where the school corporation has been, where it projects to go, and how this project can fit in. So the first thing that we look at, and I don't want to be in anyone's way, first thing that we look at when we talk about bond issues is where is the school currently when it comes to their debt fund. The debt fund is set up to pay for bond issues. So currently, South Putnam has a couple different bond issues outstanding. We have color-coded each bond issue and their payments and shown what year those bond payments are going to be paid in. So you can see currently in 2023, the school corporation is paying about $2.5 million in total on all of their outstanding bond issues. That is going to go down in 24 and then significantly in 25 to about $500,000 through 3 years of those payments. And then the school corporation, as it stands today, will be out of debt. When we look at potential bond issues, this is exactly the picture that we want to see. You have payments coming down from year to year, so there's going to be a lot of room to finance projects, add in payments, but add in payments in a way that we're not increasing the tax rate. We're still within that $1.32 total target tax rate, and we'll illustrate how that can work. Okay, so we have looked at kind of the maximum borrowing that the school corporation could do, again, under the $1.32 tax rate. Do not want to increase the tax rate as part of this project. In the light blue is where the payments are currently that I just showed you on the last page. The darker blue are illustrative payments from this potential project. Nothing is set in stone right now. All of this is fluid. Things will change as we get different information, better information down the road. But this is what the repayment on the proposed project might look like as of today. You will notice that the payments are decreasing each and every year out through 2028, at which time they flatline. The orange line graph depicts your debt service fund tax rate, which is one component of your total tax rate. We're bringing that debt service tax rate down beginning in 2025. I'll talk about this in the next page, but in order to get a total tax rate of $1.32, we're bringing down one component of your tax rate as we expect another component of your tax rate to go up. Bringing those together, we're going to solve for that $1.32. Again, I'll talk about that in a little bit. Based on these repayments, and again, hitting the $1.32 tax rate, we're looking at a maximum borrowing amount of $19,700,000. Okay, as I talked about, we are solving for a total tax rate of $1.32. That's where the school corporation was in 2021. In 2022 and 23, the school corporation was actually a little bit below the $1.32. We saw some assessed value growth the last couple years that caused the school's tax rate to come down just a couple pennies. But the expectation moving forward would be able to do this project, return to the 2021 level of $1.32, hopefully without going above that. The debt service tax rate, as we'll talk about on the next slide, from 23 to 24, is not expected to go up. We just showed this on the last page. The debt service tax rate is not going to go up as part of this project. But that is just one component of your total tax rate. The operations fund is another side of the tax rate. I won't get too far in the weeds, but based on assessed value trends that we expect moving forward, we do expect your operations fund tax rate to increase a couple pennies each and every year. Because of that, as I showed you on the last page, we're bringing down your debt service tax rate a couple pennies each and every year to make sure that when we finance this project, if we finance this project, we're solving for the $1.32. The taxpayers are not going to care if our debt service tax rate stays the same if the total tax rate is increasing. So again, what the taxpayers will see on their tax bill will be that $1.32. It just so happens that we have to bring down one component as another one increases. So again, we're being mindful of that potential increase in the operations fund, bringing down that debt service tax rate to hit the $1.32. The last page, this has all of the numbers in the proposed resolution. These are all of the important financial information that you will see as you read through that resolution. The par amount of the bonds, as I mentioned, $19.7 million. This is a maximum number. By approving the $19.7, it does not obligate you to borrow the full amount. It just means you cannot borrow amount in excess of the $19.7 million. So you can borrow any number less than that, but you cannot borrow more. Estimated cost of the issuance, we are estimating that at $1.1 million right now. We expect that to be a very conservative number. Given you are several months away from issuing bonds, we don't have the exact cost right now. So we have put in a conservatively high number. We would expect that number to be less when and if you issue these bonds. Based on that number, that would leave you $18.6 million available for hard and soft project costs, the actual money going into these projects. Estimating the interest rate at 6%, this again is kind of a worst case scenario. If you were to do these bonds today, you would be under 4%, but as we stood here about 18 months ago, that rate would have been about 2%. So rates have gone up significantly in the last year. Again, since bonds aren't being issued today or tomorrow, several months down the road, just putting in a little flexibility should rates continue to go up, you still have the opportunity if you wanted to move forward to issue these bonds. 19.7 borrowing with a 6% interest cost. We're looking at estimated interest expense of $14.2 million. Again, when and if we issue these bonds, assuming that interest rate is well below the 6%, this number is going to come down significantly. Maximum lease payment. This is the maximum payment you can make in any 1 year. That is listed at $2.5 million. That is important because it works into the formula for our estimated maximum tax rate impact. I just stood here and said that we're going to be at $1.32 about 15 times, I realized in the last few slides. As you look in the resolution, you're going to see a maximum tax rate impact of 67 cents. Well, if I'm saying this isn't going to impact the tax rate, but the resolution says 67%, or 67 cents, excuse me, what's the difference? So this is purely a statutory formula, does not take into account the first page that I showed you about your payments coming down and eventually all of your debt being paid off. It simply takes your maximum payment, your $2.5 million, and it divides it by your current assessed value, which is down here in small letters, $370 million, to come up with this number. Again, it disregards future assessed value potential growth and disregards you paying off your current debt. So this is solely the $2.5 million divided by the $370 million, disregards everything else. The net impact to the debt service tax rate, as I showed you a couple pages ago, we're not increasing the debt service tax rate as a part of this bond issue. So what the taxpayers will see on their tax bill under the debt service fund is no increase. Again, you're paying off old debt, replacing it with new debt, and we're going to be net neutral on the tax rate. That is all the information I have. I know that was a lot. I'm happy to answer any questions the board may have. If you have any questions later on, I'm happy to answer those questions as well.
Thank you, Matt. Okay. Now we close the public meeting, right, and open the public hearing. Remember, if you would like to speak, your name has to eventually be on this piece of paper. And as I mentioned earlier, we ask that you limit your comments to 3 minutes. Avoid being repetitive. Okay. So I will go through the people who have signed up, and then anyone who's still considering, you have a few minutes. Thomas Champion is our first speaker.
Good evening, I am Thomas Champion. I am the band choir director here at South Putnam. In the past, I've spoken at these public hearings about the need to make upgrades to our current stage and performing arts spaces. I have also made the once-in-a-generation proposal to construct an auditorium. Since the last time I spoke to the board about the need to construct an auditorium, several things have changed. In that time, I have taken on the responsibility of leading the high school drama club and directing the recent spring play. I thought that I had a good understanding of the deficiencies of our current performing arts spaces, but I was mistaken. When directing the spring play, these deficiencies became abundantly clear. They became clear at 9 o'clock at night when I was cutting lumber on the tailgate of a pickup truck under the parking lot lights behind the school. Our current space lacks a scene shop, so all props and set pieces must be constructed on stage or off-site. In order to maintain a clean cafeteria, I decided the parking lot was the best place to cut lumber. This, of course, is far from ideal. I also discovered the lack of storage space. Currently, everything that the drama club has must be stored in the wings of the stage. The wings are small, and there is not a lot of room to store items needed for shows. This discouraged me, and I'm sure others from making long-term investments in our prop and set inventory. Without a quality inventory of supplies, we are forced to reinvent the wheel for every show. As we prepared to get ready for the show, additional challenges arose. We currently do not have any dressing rooms for our performers. This forced us to get creative. We were able to convert 2 storage rooms into dressing rooms for the performers. They were able to use the restrooms in the freshman hallway as well. This created several logistical challenges throughout the performance. I have only begun to scratch the surface of the deficiencies with our performing arts space. I have thought long and hard about how to renovate the space we currently have to address these issues. After many hours of thought, the only option I can come up with is to construct a new performing arts space. I am not alone in this thinking. Since I proposed constructing an auditorium, several members of our community, along with parents and staff members, have told me that they also believe that this is needed within our school and community. I believe that it is time for South Putnam to invest in an innovative future for all of our students. I also encourage anyone within our community that is in support of this idea to come forward and let this board know. Thank you for your time this evening. Thank you.
Griffin Jones.
Hello, my name is Griffin Jones. I take part in the performing arts at South Putnam. I'm in the choir. I perform in the theater productions, and I help assist direct with the middle school productions. And all the things that Mr. Champion said are true. We're truly just lacking space, and now is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for us to potentially build an auditorium or expand that space. Like he said, dressing rooms, we don't have those. During the most recent production, I had to sprint to a storage room, quickly change my clothes, and run back on stage. And it just really doesn't make sense to me why, when we have this grant, we wouldn't put towards something that is continually growing. The music program, I just see Mr. Champion expanding it every year as he comes down here to recruit people. His voice with the middle school, I see more kids acting in that than I have in the past few years. It's continually growing, and that means we need the space to grow as well, or else we're just going to overflow. So I hope you consider putting some of this money towards an auditorium for the future of the performing arts.
Is there anyone else? Okay. Yes. Elaine, go ahead. Sorry.
I'm Elaine Bai, and I'm a teacher at South Putnam. Do I have to say my address or anything?
Okay. You just have to sign it.
Okay, I will do that. I just wanted to speak about this project. We've always been told here at South Putnam that we can do more with less, and now we actually have an opportunity to do more with more. And I love sports, I love extracurriculars, I love drama, I love music, and I love my students. And so it just makes me tear up thinking about it. I just hope that we can maximize and modernize our sports facilities. I hope that we can considerably upgrade or make an auditorium for our students, or just make the stage look more professional and give them all of the modern things that they need for our performances. And I hope that we look at our buildings and make sure that they have all of the things that they need so that our students are getting, even for those students who aren't involved in sports or extracurriculars or drama or band or choir, that they have the buildings that they deserve and they can get the best education possible from South Putnam. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay. Thank you all very much. Those of you who have spoken either tonight or at other hearings, we appreciate the time and interest and guts it takes sometimes to stand up at a public meeting. So we appreciate your efforts there. Okay, so 7G on the agenda, consideration of the project resolution. So Kristen, will you please summarize the project resolution for us?
Sure. In your board packets, you do have a resolution entitled Project Resolution. Again, it's required anytime a school corporation intends to spend more than $1 million on a building. You'll see as Matt went through in his presentation, it sets forth those maximum borrowing amounts.
Does anyone have any questions? Kristen? Good?
I guess I move to approve the project resolution.
Okay. Who was that? Is that Wade? Okay. Joe made a motion to approve the project resolution. Wade seconded it. All those in favor? 7H, consideration of preliminary determination resolution. So Kristen, go back to you again.
This is the resolution that's required when a school corporation is spending more than a certain dollar amount on an overall project. Again, it sets forth some of the same maximums that that project resolution did, plus a whole bunch of other maximums that Matt went over in his presentation.
Any questions?
I move to approve the preliminary determination resolution.
Second.
Wade made a motion to approve the preliminary determination resolution. Lee seconded it. All those in favor? Thank you. 7I, consideration of reimbursement resolution. Kristen, you're on again.
We will time the sale of these bonds once the final project scope is determined and we go to bid. And so oftentimes there are costs that you have to pay from school corporation funds. So what this allows you to do, it's required under federal tax law. But what this allows you to do would be to pay for preliminary expenses and other sorts of things from your operations or rainy day, and then reimburse the school corporation once your bonds are issued.
I move to approve the reimbursement resolution.
Second.
We made the motion to approve the reimbursement resolution. Joe seconded. All those in favor? 7J on the agenda, consideration of approval of Central Elementary credit card request. Oh.
Close the meeting.
Okay. We'll close the hearing?
Yeah.
Is that what I'm supposed
Yeah.
to do?
Yeah.
Okay, that's fine. I'm gonna close the hearing. And we're gonna go back to the regular business meeting. Is that okay?
There you go.
Okay. All right, so we are to item 7J, consideration of approval of Central Elementary credit card request.
Mr. Gowan, principal at Central Elementary, is seeking approval for a credit card to utilize to increase the efficiencies of ordering supplies and materials, incentives for the school. The funds to pay for the expenses will come from the Central Elementary. It just facilitates the process of ordering things, especially online.
Just streamlines the purchasing process.
Streamline the purchasing process.
And no, all the approvals are staying the same. It's all same process.
Yeah.
And it's just for Central Elementary purchases paid for from Central Elementary funds.
Yep.
Does Fillmore have a similar?
They do not.
No.
You got something that's needed?
Maybe. Right now, no.
Just curious.
No, you're good.
Any other questions or discussion?
I move to approve the credit card request for Central.
A second.
We made the motion to approve the credit card request for Central Elementary. Any seconded? All those in favor? Item 8 on the agenda, other business.
There's none.
There is none. Item 9, superintendent's report. Dr. Smith.
Pretty brief report. I just want to give a few updates. Restroom, locker room, gym, and science lab project in the high school is approaching its final stages. Yay. The old air handling units in the gym have been taken down, and the new air handling units with AC have been installed. There's still some more connections and plumbing and so forth to finish that up, but we're getting closer every day, so we're hoping to have a cool graduation this year. everything, and the whole project in itself just looks amazing. You just can't wait to showcase all the work that's been done. It's really phenomenal what the transformation in that space. We just walked through yesterday, so it's phenomenal. 6 weeks are left in the 2022-23 school year, so where the countdown is on. We are right now in the heart of testing season and finalization of projects and so forth for our students. The teachers and staff continue to do amazing work with our students and getting them through the finish line. It really is at this point of the year, it's an all hands on deck process to finish everything up. So there's a lot of moving parts at this time of year, but they're doing a phenomenal job. Over spring break, we hosted a 3-hour active shooter training at the high school in coordination with Putnam County Sheriff Ball and the Putnam County Sheriff's Department and Greencastle Police Department. A lot of people were out of the area, so they may not have known that was going on, but we did have that. It was a great learning opportunity for all. And we've also hosted several state police diving team training sessions here at the school. So if you see, 15 state police cars out there, that's what's been going on. And maybe in a helicopter from time to time. So we really do appreciate all of our law enforcement departments and continue to work with them in their training and their preparation efforts. We just think it's great that they get familiar with our buildings as much as they possibly can. And that's my report for tonight.
Thank you, Dr. Smith. Anyone have anything else would you like to add? All right, if there are no objections, we will adjourn. Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Thanks. Appreciate it, Brandon.